Live or listening back to this show from Teachers Talk Radio. You can catch up with all our shows by visiting our YouTube channel or by listening back at ttradio.org. Don't forget to like and subscribe to enjoy more live education conversation from TTR. We hope you enjoy this show.
Outstanding and world-class vision and world-class this.
I'm a real leadership geek, honestly. I've spent my whole career reading books and chatting to people.
I just find the whole thing and the announcement, the way it's been announced, bizarre.
If you could move away from a model where teachers are so intensely focused.
Hello and welcome.
Hey, good evening, everybody.
Another week. Yeah.
Good evening. Okay, well, this is the Sunday Social from Teachers Talk Radio with our co-host Claudia and myself, and we have our special guest Kristine Kim.
Yeah.
Right.
Great to be on here with you guys.
Welcome.
Welcome, and thank you ever so much for joining us today. We got quite a bit to go through, but Claudia, if you want to take the role and introduce our guest.
So I'm just going to read it off because she has so many wonderful things she's been doing and she is doing and she has done. So Kristine is an English educator, my colleague actually, who has more than 2 decades of experience teaching English communication in universities, academies and professional settings across Korea and the Philippines. Salamat po. She currently teaches at Chuncheon National University of Education, where her work focuses on practical communicative uses of English that students can apply beyond the classroom. In addition to university teaching, Kristine is highly sought after for one-on-one tutoring. She is creme de la creme when it comes to that. And she has worked with elementary students through to university. And she always manages to build these really long-lasting relationships with both the learners and the parents. And she is known for tailoring her lessons just incredibly to the individual students' needs. She's the go-to person for like, somebody's like, oh, I'm like looking for students. She's like, don't worry, I can put you in contact. She just knows everyone in our town who needs to be known. She's great. She coaches people. She helps professionals develop their confidence, clarity, and natural fluency in English. And she speaks Tagalog and English fluently. And she has promised me that she will work on her Korean.
Oh my gosh.
It's getting there. She's much better than me. And yeah, she's just overall awesome person. And it's been so great to share so many years with her in just different capacities, right? So very, very grateful to have Kristine Kim with us today. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thanks for inviting me.
You are welcome. So to start off, Kristine, to get you eased into the conversation, I've got some would you rathers.
Okay.
Just let me know what your answer is. You've got to choose, by the way, and you don't necessarily need to explain to us the reason. So the first one is, would you rather be a superhero or a super villain?
Superhero.
Superhero, okay. Would you rather speak in public or dive with sharks?
Speak in public. I've kind of like my face is thick enough now to
okay. That means you're going to be applying for some conferences this year, right?
If you...
Would you rather meet an alien or a dinosaur?
Dinosaur.
Oh, dinosaur. Curious.
Right.
Would you rather speak every foreign language or be able to talk to animals?
Animals.
ChatGPT
really? Can talk to ChatGPT can speak all languages. You can translate anything for you now.
Yeah, that's true. Would you rather be able to fly or breathe underwater?
Fly.
Okay. fly. Really, you're from the Philippines and you're gonna fly.
Fly.
Your oceans are so
The oceans are too
beautiful.
polluted and too much plastic in them. So
Okay, last one. Would you rather have the lights on or off if you were in a room full of spiders?
off.
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 Really? Oh,
Ignorance. Like, I mean, if you don't see it, then
then
won't
it's not
trigger
there. Okay.
it's not there.
All right. Yeah, those are my questions. Now we know. If anyone has spiders, turn the lights off for Kristine.
The lights off.
Great activity, great warmer
Yeah.
for your students as well. If you're
Yeah.
watching, thank you.
No problem. No problem.
What I tend to do, one thing I tend to ask at the beginning of the show is, what got you into teaching? What brought you into the profession? If I could ask you, Kristine.
A very good question, because I never imagined myself teaching, and teaching English at that. Because when I was in university, I actually was hard into the sciences. I was studying chemistry, and it was in my 4th year of college that I ran into my PE teacher, who happened to be Korean, and he remembered me as a good student from class, and he called me over. He's like, "Hey, would you like to teach English?" I'm like, "I don't know how to teach English. I've never taught in English before. I've never taught it." And he was like, "It's okay. Just talk to the student." And I'm like, "Okay," because I really liked my teacher, and so I thought, "Oh, for you, sir, sure, I'll do any favor." So he introduced me to a student. And there were a lot of students at the time going to the Philippines to learn English, and so that kind of that started it for me. But it was like life-changing, because I never enjoyed chemistry. I was like, well, I had to take it just because I didn't have any other choices at the time, because I didn't have any other choices. But when I started teaching English, I enjoyed it so much, and I thought, wow, this is something I can, see myself doing. And so that got me started. And that was way back in 2000.
Wow.
Been a while.
Man, any
Gosh.
regrets? Have you ever thought, oh, maybe I should have stuck with chemistry, or are you
No,
quite happy with your...
no. None at all. None at all. No, I cannot see myself stuck in the laboratory, measuring out chemicals. No. I'm really enjoying what I do. And I love it because I can meet so many people, from all walks of life. It's so enriching. And
that's one great thing about you, that because we teach in the same university, one of the students who was in my class last semester, you were like, do you know, I used to teach her at the Hagwon when she was in elementary school, and now she's in university studying to become a teacher. And it was it's such a full circle moment of seeing your student.
I know.
Right. You knew her from when she was little, and then
gosh. I think that's one of the benefits of teaching, isn't it? Because you make lifelong connections, and you can see that progress students make over a period of time.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
One thing that blew my mind was I taught one of my students. She was a mature student when I first started at my school. 10 years later, her daughter's now attending the school as well. And so I was like, oh, wow, I've been able to have an impact on the mom and the daughter as well. It's
generational.
Yeah, never saw myself as too old, but I really felt really old. I was like, whoa, this is so weird. So weird. But it's so nice, right? Especially if you've had a good experience with those students, to see them grow up and make wise choices, like going to teaching, is for me, it's quite heartwarming. It makes the hard days worth it, because then you see, oh yeah. And if they remember you, because then some people, they don't remember you, but that particular student did remember me.
Yeah, I had several students who came up to me in the university, and they were like, "Kristine," I'm like, "Who are you calling me Kristine?"
Yeah.
And they happened to be my students like so many years before when they were in elementary, and then they have to introduce themselves because sometimes I can't recognize them. They're like, "I'm Soon," or like,
Mhm.
I'm Jessica," or "I'm Betty." I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's you," because there's such a big transformation,
Mm.
but it's so fulfilling to see like how far they've come along. So
Mm.
yeah,
Mm. Yeah,
definitely.
I remember speaking. I met my old director from the first Hagwon that I worked at, the uh, cram school here in Korea, and I met up with him, had dinner with him, met his family, and he phoned up one of my old students, and it was he said, he must have been about 14 when I taught him, and now he was like a middle-aged, well, not middle-aged, but like an adult
Yeah.
with a family and what have you, and it just sounded like an adult Korean man's chat to me, and I'm thinking, I can't place him. I don't know who he is.
Yeah. That's always the weirdest, right? When they put, especially like they change, they grow, their voices, even like the way that they carry themselves. It's always it's chilling. One of my like a really good memory that I had last year was a student that I also taught when she was in elementary school came to see me at a play that I was doing. And I immediately recognized her. Like her face didn't change. Many people's faces changed, but her face didn't change. And immediately I saw her and I just said her name. I was like, Kim Go, that's you. Because I could just, like, I will never forget her at all. Because I just had such a nice relationship, both with her and her mum as well. Her mum was just an amazing person. And yeah, they were just a part of like the first memories that I have of being in Korea, first positive memories of being in Korea. So I could never forget.
And I bet she was really happy that you remembered her name. Like,
yes,
her Kim. What you
yes,
remembered her?
that's
full name.
always my fear. Actually, there's been so many students who are like teacher, and they're so excited, and I want to, share my excitement with them by saying their names, and suddenly you find yourself being like, "What is your name? I need like a
I
hint
know,
or
right?
something."
Yeah.
Do you guys have any tricks
Yeah.
for that when you've forgotten the student's name? What's the trick to get out of that? Especially because Korean names can sometimes be so similar and confusing for me, anyways.
Give them an English name. And a lot of them want to have an English name, and that's just a lot easy. It's easier to remember, makes them more memorable. Or if you have their English name. I have this like I used to work at the Hagwon as well, and one of the things I did to remember their names was to take a picture on the first day and make sure to jot down all their names, and by the second meeting I would tell them like okay, today I'm gonna tell everybody their name, and if I get it wrong I owe you a piece of candy. And they're really eager for me to make a mistake, and I botch everybody's name on purpose so they all get candy. But yeah, and I'm like, "Oh, are you Jessica or something? Are you like Michelle?" I mean, for example, or if somebody's name was like Michael, I would say Michelle or something, I would mess it up intentionally, and then they would be like, "No, I'm this person." Like, "Oh, okay, here's your candy." And I think they just enjoyed it when it came their turn, and how they'd have to correct me and all. So that helps. And just to have it on paper with their picture and their name to always refer to.
There's a colleague that I worked with who would also take a photo of individual students, and he would put them onto a spreadsheet, and he would have a list of their names and then the photos, so that he would memorize their names and connect it with their photos, their profile photos, if it's on the info system on the university info system. And that kind of worked for him, but for me, I'm terrible with names, and I would have to do something pen and paper and write down you know, what their name is and draw a layout of the classroom and write down where they are. But one thing I wouldn't do is actually enforce an English name on a student, whether they were, you know, whether they wanted it or not is another matter, but I wouldn't force an English name on them. And I would try very hard to pronounce their name correctly, you know, regardless of where they are. And one thing I like to do at the, you know, with my first lesson is sort of introducing, if you're teaching a class, a group of students, and you go, my name's Martin and I'm, you know, 47 and I like to play the saxophone. And then the student next to me has to introduce themselves, but they introduce me first and then themselves, and they have to go all the way around the classroom. And if they get it incorrect, you have to start at the beginning. So myself again, and go all the way around. And once it goes all the way back to you, you have to try and tell all the student names and something about them.
Oh, yeah, that's always a fun way to get the class started. Yeah. But that's if you have a big class, that's really challenging.
It's really challenging. Yeah. And I do remember a group of Austrian students I was teaching in the UK, and you know, I got all their names ready. I think it was about a group of 12 of them, and I managed to remember them because I'm terrible with names. It's awful. And what they did was, you know, I got them all correct. They all stood up and mixed themselves up again and said, try again. And I was like, no, I'm all right, thank you.
See, how do you then start if you're having a one-on-one? Because what I find, you know, with classes, with bigger classes, or even just with 2 or 3 students, you can kind of, you know, use the other students, they can work with each other. But on a first day, when you've just got one student, what are some of the ways that you've started the classes? How do you kind of build that relationship and bring that same excitement and energy to the class?
Well, first of all, I think you have to be very genuinely interested in your student. You have to show them that you're there to, you know, not just teach them English, but to bond in some sort of way. So I remember having one student, and the first time we entered his house, this was in the Philippines, and he's a Korean kid, and his mom, of course, is forcing him to study English. And you know how the parents would frame it? They're like, oh, he wants to study with you. I'm like, he does dreads this class. And he was like complaining. And when we got there, he was all pouty, and he was just so like visibly showing us he was not interested in the class. And then I'm like, I'm stuck with this kid for an hour and a half. How do I get him to talk? And so I was just looking around his room, and I because it was in his room, and I saw some books, and I was it happened to be one of my favorite childhood books. So I said, oh my gosh, do you read Roald Dahl? Do you have his collection? That is the coolest thing. And then he's like, oh yeah, and I have this too. And he just opened up right there and then to show that like you have something in common, and that there's something cool in the stuff that what they like, you also like. I think that's the fastest way to get them to open up and, you know, cooperate at least to some extent.
Yeah.
When I first came to Korea, I had in one of my schools in the 6th grade, there was only one student. And the report that I got, this was a small school. So there's actually, I think, about 9 students in total in the whole entire school. And a full staff. There was like 27 staff members and about 9 students. But the major problem and issue was the 6th grader. And I was told already, like the previous teacher left me a report and just said, there's no point in teaching her. She's just going to break down at some point and start, you know, to hit her head on the table because she doesn't want to learn. So almost kind of like give up. And so that was my introduction to this class. And it was a 3-hour class on a Friday. So it's just like, you know, she's already had enough of the week anyways. And then Friday morning, she's got to listen to me for 3 hours. And just like you said, Kristine, after trial and error, much trial and error, I realized actually finding stuff that she's interested in, mixing that in with our lesson really made her light up. So we did a bit of English, and then we were like, oh, you like painting your nails? So I bought in some, nail varnish, and we just paint our nails. And obviously we can't talk because I don't know Korean, she doesn't know English, but somehow just doing these small activities in between the learning made her calm, and she stopped banging her head, and she was more willing to learn because now she actually looked forward to our times. So yeah, it was a huge lesson to learn, actually, because I think if I'd followed just that teacher's advice, I would have also been frustrated. And I'm so glad that when I left, I didn't say just give up on her, but I was like, actually mix in some activities, get to know her first, make her feel comfortable, and she'll be a lot more cooperative. And she kept in touch with me actually for years. She would always call me. So it was like she was supposed to be one of my worst students, but yet through building that relationship, she became one of my best students. Yeah,
that's amazing. Right. Well, I'm going to just briefly go over to the sponsorship for today's show. This show is brought to you in partnership with Hachette Learning, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. So level up your professional development today and visit www.hachetlearning.com to explore their full range of titles. Right. Well, one thing, and I've been very thorough, and I've prepared a range of bullet points for today's topic about one-to-one teaching and learning, and we kind of touched upon the initial lessons of one-to-one and how to develop that rapport or that relationship with one student. But what do you think are the advantages and disadvantages of teaching one-to-one?
Oh, well, the advantages are that you can absolutely tailor your lessons for that student. So I had a student, and her mom was asking me to help her get ready for like a Life in America. And so she insisted that we learn K-pop demon songs, K-pop demon hunter songs. So we ended up singing some of those, and that's not something you can do in a bigger class. So definitely you can tailor and find what they're interested in, and help them boost their confidence, or help them just break the ice and be able to speak English on something they're familiar with and something that they like. And sometimes they I've had, this was back in the Philippines, but I was teaching at this place where there were a lot of students, and after our classes, we would all go play tennis together, watch a movie together. And it was just so much fun. It was so I guess getting to know them, not just on a little bit beyond the classroom, it was just so rewarding, because I've kept in touch with so many of them. So I guess that's one thing. It's easier to tailor the class to their to their level and what they like. And if you're making corrections as well, it's easier for them to hear it when it's just you and them, as opposed to a bigger class. And the disadvantage is if you are not really matched well with a student, then you have to keep on teaching. I've never quit teaching any of my students, but I just wait for them to say it first if they have to move on, or if they have to focus on something else. But it's been hard, because there are some students that you won't really jive with, and or that are really I can't give them everything that they need in terms of English. So, but I can't just I don't want to teach you anymore. I can't just say that. So that's one of the challenges, because you want to keep a Korean moms like consistency, and if you get that reputation that that teacher just quits on your kid, then it's not something you want to be said about.
Because they share information quite a lot, right?
Definitely.
They've got good communication.
It's a strong network and community between
Right.
the parents, don't they?
Between parents, because those mum cafes, which in Korea are like, I guess, the blogs.
Yeah.
Would you call the mum cafes like a blog? And
a Naver Cafe? Do you mean? Or
yes,
down?
and any of those. Yeah, they call them cafes, because, like blogs where they get all the information. Because, funnily enough, my son's kindergarten or nursery teacher found my play on one of these things, and she messaged me. She's like, she sent me this picture, and for ages I couldn't figure out how did she find out about this, because it's kind of like a small play, and then I didn't say anything to her. And so yesterday when I saw her, I asked her, how did you know I was in a play? Because I thought maybe we knew someone, and she's like, because somebody posted it on the mum cafes. I saw things to do in Chinchon. So I was like, oh, I guess you got to have a good reputation out there, because you never know where that information is going to go.
Yeah, that's true. I suppose one of the disadvantages of teaching one-to-one is that you're constantly front and center, aren't you? It just takes and squeezes so much energy out of you whilst you're teaching, because there's several hats that you have to wear as a one-to-one teacher. You know, you've got your like the conversationalist, or you're the guide or supporter, or the psychologist and what have you, all wrapped into one.
What I found, so for me, the advantage that I see is that you can give immediate feedback, which is a lot easier to do if you've just got one person and you've got several people. But just like you, Martin, it's like you are there for all the activities. You can't just be like, okay, pair up now, and then I'll have like a little break and just observe. No, I am your pair. I am your games partner. I'm there. But what I found is that sometimes inviting a guest every now and then. So I do my one-on-one on Zoom. So every now and then I might say, okay, I'm going to invite somebody. And they actually really appreciate that, because after a while, your student can get used to you too much and get used to your way of speaking and your style of questions, and you get used to them. So you kind of change. I don't know about you, but I do this all the time. I kind of modify the way I speak. I either slow down a little bit too much, or I anticipate their mistakes and I give them a lot more support. Whereas someone fresh, new, would just speak to them in just how they are, and it really does
without that filter.
Yeah. So guests kind of, and it gives me a bit of a breather, because I can be like, okay, talk to someone else.
That's a really interesting idea. Well, you've touched upon online one-to-one lessons, and I suppose the next thing on my list of these 9 things is what is the difference of teaching one-to-one online versus face-to-face?
What is the difference, Chris? Have you done?
I haven't really had that many online. Have I? Not that I can even remember. But for me, I guess I'm just more comfortable now teaching face to face, because you can like, I guess you can just catch more of the when they're muttering something under their breath or their mood, and you can catch that a lot better if you meet them face to face. There are a lot of things you can't, I guess, if you're just online. But it would be nice to have more online classes, because you could do it from the comfort of your own home.
Well, for me personally, most of my one-to-one teaching is online. Whereas I've had experience of teaching face to face with individual students, but it's been kind of limited since the pandemic. Obviously, prior to COVID-19, I did have some experience of teaching one-to-one, face to face, and it was kind of unique. You could bring in things into the classroom, physical items, and you could use those as conversationals, whereas online it's kind of you're there digitally, remotely, and the student is wherever they're located, but then there's certain things that are beyond your control, like the technology can slow the class down, or they could be buffering and everything else like that, as we all experience online. But
Yeah, I did have some online classes with bigger classes, and what I found was really hard, because I was not used to having any online classes, was if I wanted to show them like something on the book or something on the page, it's like, you'd have to take a picture and then you upload it, and it's a lot. It's so many more steps rather than just pointing something out, like pointing to your book. So that was, and then if it was backwards or not, and then there was always this thought that the parents of my students are probably somewhere behind the camera,
watching.
Particularly for children, if you're teaching one-to-one with kids, because they're sitting. I remember in my early years as an online teacher, 10 years ago, I was teaching a kid from China, and the parents would be at the side, and I'll be doing edutainment and that sort of thing, all flashy and games, and my pitch would be really high. Wow, hi there, sort of thing, and it'll be there for like 20-25 minutes, and then it'll be the next kid. And I remember, he was in the middle of having his lunch with his parents, and they just shoved an iPad in front of him to have his English lesson, and he's there having his lunch, and the next thing he's sitting on a potty or something like that.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy. That's actually insane. What I've had when I've had online lessons with kids is the parent would sometimes whisper the answers to them, or like point and be like, say that, and I'm like, no, leave us alone. Or the grandma will be like cleaning in the background, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is so distracting. But it's also, for me, I think, because my student is in Seoul, and so I'm in Chuncheon, we're about an hour and 15 minutes apart from each other. The meeting online just makes sense, and over time we've kind of figured out a way of sharing and using the internet to be able to communicate. So stuff that we do that's different. So in terms of sharing, we share shows, so it's so easy to just go on, like, say she sometimes says, oh, I've been watching this show on like Apple TV or Netflix, then I will watch it as well during the week, and then when we meet again, I'll be like, oh, the show you recommended, I liked it or I didn't like it. So we've started to find our own kind of language, whereas in class maybe I would bring some, like you said, something physical. Now we can share digital items, we can share things that we're doing on social media, places that we're going, plans as well. And I think we build our conversation or our universe around like what we've done during the week, and then we come and we share. And something that I try and do is always ask her questions about what she did the previous week. I try and remember stuff that she said so that we can bring them up, talk about it again, share the outcomes, the results and stuff like that. And I feel like I know her quite well, actually. Even though we've met once, but it now feels like I'm meeting a friend online more than a student. We've gotten to that stage, which is really quite nice, and I actually look forward to our times. And because she's working, so many times she's gone through the Korean education system, so every time I've got a question about like university students or Korean reaction, I go through her. I ask her, is this a normal reaction? Is this, would you normally say that? And because I have this rule in my class, if you use your phone, I say if you use your phone illegally, like you're on Coupang, which is like our Amazon, buying makeup, which it's so many people do that. They're like shopping in class. I'm like, that's an illegal use of the phone. You've got two choices. It's either you buy everybody Krispy Kreme donuts, so one donut per student, or you get -3 points from your final score during the term. And so I shared that with my student. I was like, what do you think of this rule? Because I feel like, Krispy Kreme is not that expensive, or I don't know. What do you think about it? Is it too much? Is it too little? And she says, you need to make it hurt a little bit more. You need to, like, Krispy Kreme is considered cheap. Like it's considered she was like, it's considered a cheap thing, and they can just get coupons and deals. She's like, go for Starbucks, buy an Americano for everyone in the class. I was like, but that's so expensive. She's like, no, that's where it's gonna hurt and it's gonna make a difference. So I was like, all right, okay. And I can happily announce I had no issues with phones last semester. It worked. Because with the donuts, I had a few, especially the boys will just be like, yeah, I'll just get the donuts. No, the girls are always like, yeah, I'll just get the donuts. Boys are like, majority of the boys never care. Girls are,
that's nice. Well, I'm just going to segue into our sponsorship today for our show. And Teachers Talk Connect is back, our annual CPD and networking extravaganza. Join the TTR team on Saturday, the 14th of March in Manchester. The tickets at the UK. Tickets are free. So what are you waiting for? Head over to ttradio.org/connect 2026. Right. Well, we do have a viewer from our show who said wonderful, helpful thoughts from you all. Thank you ever so much. I'm really pleased that these ideas and thoughts from our guest and ourselves are benefiting some way. Yeah. Well, we have the different roles of the teacher, the facilitator, the communicator, the guide, and the therapist, and that sort of thing for one-to-one teaching. But what about the different roles of the one-to-one student? Any thoughts?
Well, I guess well, so sometimes they come in with different hats. They have their they come in as like the kid who likes to play, likes to post videos on YouTube, and they tell about what they post, and then they tell about so I have mostly kids at the moment. That's why all my examples are like more about what kids are more inclined to. But you have them sometimes talking about their school life a lot, and about what they. I'm not sure if I'm answering you correctly on this, but some like what their hobbies and stuff, about their how good they are at a certain game, or how wonderfully they've memorized some song or some dance. So I had a girl, before I could check her homework, she'd like break out dancing. She thought she was Rumi in K-pop Demon Hunters, and she was out there doing a concert for me, and she wouldn't allow me to have her book and check her homework until I listened to her sing and dance. So that was just, she was really cute. But that was the only way I could get to her homework. Songs first.
But it makes sense, because I think giving the student a little bit of like responsibility, or them taking charge of the lesson and I think that connects to the longevity of the lesson. If they feel like I can be myself, I can share what I love and what I do, it gives them some sense of responsibility. And then you can even add on to that, right? Today you showed me a dance. Next time, can you remember one of the lines? So you can dance, and then you can, tell me one of those lines. And so you can just keep on building, and then slowly they can do more. How about you teach me the words today? I'll be the student, you be the teacher. You take the book. Because again, the reason why I thought of that is because with my student, I realized for quite a while I was doing a lot of the talking, and what I did is I downloaded the transcript of our sessions, and I put it through I think it was GPT or Gemini works better, and I just said, critique this lesson, like give me feedback as a teacher as well as a student. And one thing that came up was I did too much of the talking, and so there's a period of time where my student is just saying so I'm stealing away from the opportunity of talking. And so one way to rectify that was to give the student just like 2 to 3 minutes where they led the conversation. So I would physically restrain myself from asking any question and just be like, so there was this awkward silence because I'm so used to filling in the, empty spaces and coming up with the next question. So I just kind of sat there, and she also sat there. We're looking at each other, and I'm like, go on. It's your turn to lead, the conversation. And so something that was interesting was that personally for her, she's like, even in normal life, in Korean, in just everyday life, she's the type of person that listens more than she asks questions. So that's quite difficult to do even in English. But it was helpful for her because she would ask questions that I didn't think of. So the more just starting off with that dance, I think building on it and giving more and more responsibilities is actually a really good way to get the student to take ownership of the lesson.
Some good
points. One day we played store, and she was selling all her stuff, and she would not give me a discount. She would not give me, but it was a good practice in numbers. And some of my students would sell me a juice for like 1 million.
And in negotiation, it's they're practicing all these really great skills.
It's so important that you give the students a platform, I suppose, so they feel comfortable at communicating and filling in that silence as a teacher. It can draw you upon. And something that I kind of try and reduce myself on is giving a running dialogue of what I'm doing. So like I'll just go over to the board and I'll write some words down, make sure you write it in your notebook. I'm like, no, stop telling them what I'm going to be doing and what they're meant to be doing. Just stop that and reduce the amount of time that I talk. When I enter the classroom, I usually come in 5-10 minutes early, and the students are either coming in or they're sitting there. I kind of just sit down, and I don't initiate. First of all, I just smile and look at them, and then they're like, well, do I have to talk now, sort of thing? It's like, yeah, go ahead, have a chat. This isn't the lesson yet, so yeah, find your feet, I suppose, as a communicator.
That is so hard for me to do because I just talk. When there's a gap, I have to say something because I'm like, this is really difficult, but it's so good for the student to be able to initiate that, because what really inspired me to talk about this topic was something that you said when your students went to England and they had this like rehearsed script. They went to like the convenience store, like the corner shop, and they put the items. Well, Martin, you can tell it better.
So basically these Korean students applied what would work in Korea in the UK. And cultures don't necessarily translate, so they'll put their items down and they'll say, "Ulmayo, how much is it?" And the guys, or they'll say it in English, "How much is it?" And the guys say, "I don't know yet. I haven't even scanned it." What are you thinking? And I kind of went to the side and I said, "Well, just make sure you don't ask immediately, because in the UK things don't run immediately like that. It's like you put your things down, you relax, take your time, and then once he's finished scanning, now's your time to ask how much it is, or he'll just tell you how much it is. There's no requirement for you to say, "Hi, how much is this?" sort of thing. It's just, "Hi, I fancy having this." "Oh, okay, that'll be pounds." "Okay, all right, there you go." And so that was it. That was the interaction I had with the students, which is not really. I was more of an observer. I wasn't there to try and. Yes, I was there to help them and hold their hands whilst they're in the UK, but I wasn't there to just teach them, "Today we're going to learn the present simple." No, you're going to find your feet and dive in at the deep end and make as many errors as you can.
Yeah, that's what I feel like is harder to do when you're with one-on-one, because I don't know, for me, maybe in my nature, I want to help so much that I help too much, and we need those moments where the students take over. They learn how to navigate awkward moments, mistakes, or
and you learn so much from those mistakes, don't you? Because how you say things in English isn't how you necessarily say it in Korean. And I remember I went down to the restaurant with my wife a few days ago or last week, and we ended up having lunch, and the owner of the restaurant, was there having her dinner, and as she usually is, and then she ends up chatting to us, and we sat down, and my Korean is almost non-existent, so I say, "I'm very sorry, I don't know much Korean," and I say it in Korean. And then she turns around to my wife and says, "What did he say?" And and there I am, just observing, because I realize I haven't said things how things are mentioned in Korean. You say, you switch it round. You say, "I don't speak Korean. I'm very sorry."
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
No, "I'm very sorry, but I don't speak Korean." Very British way to say it. And then I realized, if you give those, if you allow students to observe and to make those mistakes, and then they'll improve from it. That was.
And it's a good talking point as well. But saying that, "I'm very sorry," I remember I had a student who maybe a family member passed away or something like that. Something bad happened, and I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry about that." And they were like, "But why are you sorry? It didn't happen to you." And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm just trying to show you that, I'm so sad for your situation on your behalf, but I didn't do anything." So it was like explaining why I was saying that just made it very awkward. But it was important to say, this is how in English we show, sympathy or support. We say words like, "I'm sorry for what happened to you," and stuff like that.
Yes.
Slightly different.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I went on a bit of a ramble there.
No, it happens.
Yeah.
Are there any cultural things you've been teaching, Kristine, during your one-on-ones? Are there any cultural things you've picked up on and you've had to address?
Well, off the top of my head, I can't remember any right now. I mean, there have been so many, but I just know that I had a student who was particularly rude, and then I told her, when you go to America, you can't talk to your teacher like this. You can't say that. And I was just telling her, just trying to put her in place, but also to gently guide her that, I'm trying to prepare you, and it's not going to be always like this where you're one-on-one with a teacher. You're going to be in a classroom with many kids and a teacher, and you have to address them like this. And, just some of those tips to, probably integrate or be able to, adjust better to school in America or something. But off the top of my mind, but so I had these students who just came back from 1 year in America, and I remember before they went, we were studying just these textbook phrases like there is, there are, or she is. I mean, it was all scripted. Sometimes I would like take their video and tell them to introduce their sister or their brother, and it was also scripted. And I took I took some video samples back then, and now I compare it to what they are now. And they're like, "Yo, bro, and they're
How's it going, man?
Dude and bro, and it's like, but I'm just so amazed at how far they've come. And now it's like we're not even, the mom's like, please don't even use a textbook, just talk to them, because I'm afraid they might lose their ability to speak. So I was just amazed, because now it's also spontaneous, and it's like, it's nothing like before. We would just, it would take so long to get through one page. It was like torture. This was one of the students that I wanted to like stop
to let go.
Oh, this is really challenging. I don't think we're a good match. But then now I'm so glad that we can enjoy these spontaneous conversations. They can talk for hours about games and YouTube and fingernails and their friends and all their adventures in the States.
That's amazing.
It's amazing progress. But yeah. And then I asked them like the difference, and then they're like, they experienced like kind of not racism, but they experienced being called like what, chunky or something like that, and like, oh, we're Asians. I mean, now they just make fun of themselves. They've learned to do that, and so I've it wasn't anything traumatic for them, but I was thinking, oh, I'm glad that they were able to adjust to and just enjoy just being in that
and embrace it and be quite self-deprecating.
Self-deprecating jokes.
Oh gosh, I remember a few nights ago I went out with a colleague of mine, and it was in the evening. We had pizza and some beer, and the chap who was like the Sajang Nim, the boss or the whoever was in the pizza running the place, he was closing up and getting everything ready, and we were the last ones there. And he said, "Oh, but are you visiting, John?" sort of thing in Korea. And I said, "No, I live here." And then he said, "Oh." And John is kind of a no gem, no fun city.
No fun
city. And then he didn't know what to say, and he said, "Well, where are you from?" And my colleague said, "Oh, I'm from New Zealand," and I said, "Oh, I'm from England." And I made a joke, which didn't necessarily translate. I said, "Look, I'm a potato man," which is kind of Kamja Saram, which is like Gangwon-do.
Yeah, we are. We have a museum. You should come and see the Kamtam museum.
And I said, I'm a Kamja Saram, I'm a potato man. And he says, "Are you from Gangwon-do?" And I said, "No, I'm from England. We have loads of potatoes there." And then he he was kind of processing it, and then he realized I was joking, and sort of a smile, and I said, "All right, well, I'll see you later, bye."
Calm down, man.
Anyway, again, I'm going off on a bit of a rant.
No, but that reminds me, we literally have a potato museum in our town. I don't know if you knew this, Kristine.
Wow.
But there is an old church that's now the potato museum. So
really,
Gamtam, and we invite you to Chinchon to come and christen our museum.
I would love to visit. Yeah.
And then you should go back to the Sajang Nim and be like, "I am the potato man who went to the potato."
Here's my photo.
And I have Kamja bread for you.
Kamja bread, yeah. Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. Be full circle.
Yeah. Oh, I have a question for everybody. How do you maintain a full hour with an extremely quiet student? Like, because if you have a one-on-one with somebody that's like talkative and maybe they're struggling but they speak, but if you have short answer, yes and no's, and quietness, how do you keep up with that hour class? What do you do?
Gamify it. Whip out some. Do you guys know Battleship?
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
know
Yeah,
Battleship?
yeah.
So, like to shoot one missile or something, before they shoot the missile, they have to ask me a question. I have to answer it, and before I can shoot them, I have to also ask them something, and then they answer. So
Do you have like a
that's
paper board or?
yeah. I just get a piece of paper, fold it in half, like that's yeah. And so by the time like they can sink one ship, they've asked so many questions. I mean, like they
Okay.
have
Yeah.
to. And then when they if the grammar is a bit off, then I can correct it. And so they've just practiced so many questions. And I'm like, it's fine if you practice the same questions over and over because you're mastering it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes I go to the most of their houses, and then I get a drink offered to me, and I tell my kid, there's that drink has a lock on it. To unlock it, you have to say 5 things about yourself. You have to, and so we have this drink unlock session that takes like a good 10 minutes already.
Wow.
And so yeah.
Oh, then how long should the lesson be? If you're or Martin, how long do your sessions last? Or Kristine, how long do your sessions last for? Because one of my arguments is always, sometimes I feel like parents want a really long session, and I'm like, it's draining for the kid. Like 50 minutes with a kindergartner, I don't take those sessions. I think that's way too long.
True. That's true. For me personally, it depends on the age and the requirements of the student. And let's say it's a middle school age student, and if it's face to face, if I'm, if I go to their home or they come here, then I would sit down, make them relaxed. I think the environment is important when it comes down to
definitely
one-to-one in person. And if you have a very calm and quiet, or well, not quiet but calm, welcoming, hospitable environment, then that student may feel comfortable. But if a student is giving you one-word answers, again, what I would do is I would just listen and kind of nod and just wait for anything else, because I don't know if there's any more processing going on in their mind. And I would wait for 30 seconds and just embrace that uncomfortable silence, I suppose. And then they will feel the need to fill that silence, that gap. And then it's like, okay, go ahead. Do you like, do you like pizza or hot dogs? Pizza. Okay. All right, then. And I just wait, and they probably will tell me the reason why, or what their favorite pizza is, or that sort of thing. And once you start to build that habit in, I think incrementally they will increase their speaking, and they'll go, do you like K-pop or K-dramas? I like K-dramas because of da, 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 da. And then before you know it, they're chatting away, and you can't stop them. Anyway, I'm just going to side on to our sponsorship for today. So this show is brought to you in partnership with Hachette Learning, publishers of professional development books and resources that support teaching and learning in schools around the world. So level up your professional development today and visit www.hachetlearning.com to explore their full range of fantastic titles. And we have a bit of time to look at a few more things. We've discussed so much in the last 50 odd minutes that we've been here. And one thing I'd like us to look at is maybe feedback. How would you go about providing feedback to your one-to-one learner?
Go on.
Claudia.
No, you go. Yeah.
Well, I have a writing class, and so yeah, so it's really, I have her write every time, every session. I have her write something new in her notebook. And at first it was like more of a like a diary, like a journal style thing. And yeah, I would first I would show her what are the common mistakes and what all the mistakes are, and I would point out this is how to correct each mistake. And then the next time I would get them to try to fix, like, what do you see wrong here? There's one mistake in this sentence, there are two here. And I would help them find it until they got to the point where they were able to easily identify their own mistakes. And so that, I think that really helped her awareness. So that was one thing in a writing class. That's really helpful. And in one of my other speaking classes with an elderly gentleman, there were some sounds that were really hard for him to pronounce. So the next time I'd come in with one of those pronunciation triangles, you know, those, Claudia, where you have like TH and S, and then you have a word, and you have to listen to where I end up, you know, like math and math, something like that. Like what I say, and then they follow me down to the bottom of the pyramid. They tell me the number, then I get them to say it. So it's like really pinpointing, like targeting the difficult sounds for each student. So that was really helpful and fun as well. Fun for me, but I don't think it was really fun for he struggled.
Claudia, what about you? How do you go about providing feedback?
I sandwich it. So I try and always start with the positive, end with a positive. I start with, you're doing really brilliantly in this, or I saw you do this. And then in the middle, I'm like, well, here is where we could do better. And I don't say because you're not doing well, but I say because when I'm listening, or the other person who's listening, they might be confused. So I always, because I feel like a lot of our students, especially in Korea, or maybe Asian students, they struggle a lot with that confidence, right? And any mistake, they kind of take it too deeply, and they're sometimes too harsh on themselves. So I always say, think about the other person. Like, the focus is not me, it's the other person. What can I do to make the other person understand me? Like, if I didn't say it properly, maybe I should use more body language. So I get them to work on, what else can you do in order to make the other person understand you a little bit more clearly? So, and I give them examples that I've, from my own personal life in Korea. For example, when I went to the bank once, I wanted to just tell the teller, I want to transfer my money from Korea to my UK account. But I had no vocabulary. Well, I had very little vocabulary. So I was like, I was like, Hanguk card, Hanguk Korea. And then I was like, Yongguk. Hanguk, Yongguk. Hanguk, Yongguk. And then she's like, okay, so in Korean, she's telling me what I'm saying, but she's understanding. So I always tell the students, look, she understood me. Although I just used a couple of words with actions, I got the message across. That's what I want you to focus on. So with those kind of mistakes, when it's confidence, I just remind them that it is possible. You've just got to try and survive. Currently, with my student, we're more working on getting her to self-correct article mistakes and what else is it? There's one other thing. Oh, tense, kind of tense consistency
forms.
Yeah. So it, because when she starts, she might start with the present tense. No, she might start with past tense, go back to present, and then future, and it doesn't really make any sense. And so now we're working on making her realize her mistake and correct automatically, which has been kind of difficult. So what I've also done, instead of just giving her a list of like the words that she said wrong, what I do is just give hints through the conversation. So I have like two different types of things. Maybe I'll say, this is like an article mistake. If you see me lift this, that means it's an article error. If you see me lift this, that means it's a tense issue. And then we go back and then we say, why do you think you made that mistake? Is it because the conversation that we're talking about was unusual? You didn't really know the vocabulary well, so you're focusing so much on just getting the content right? Or is it because you know this conversation really well, but you've never really introduced? So we kind of go back and we discuss the type of mistake she made and why she thinks she made that. And my student is like advanced intermediate. So she's able to actually articulate why she made those mistakes. But I think starting to get her to, you know, focus and on like a few things. So she already knows like she makes those mistakes. So I don't need to tell her every single time why she's making them. We already established that. But now it's about how can she move on and improve. And so it's like repetition. And then it's like, how many did I do right? How many did I do wrong? What am I still not getting right? And for some of these things, which it's really hard because in Korean, she doesn't use articles. And so it's really hard to get them to just come out naturally. It has to be like physically, you have to be aware of it. You have to remind yourself. And sometimes, because we've done the same exercises over and over again, she reminds herself, but other times she falls back into you know, the trap of making that mistake.
Yeah, old habits die hard, don't they? Yeah.
It's really hard to break.
Yeah, but then, you know, in Korean, for example, they would rely less on, you know, tense forms and more on the context of the times. You know, like yesterday I eat da 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 da, and it's like, yeah, that works. Yes, you can use the past tense. You can conjugate the verb for the past tense. But you know, if you just want to share something very quickly, then they're not really going to focus more on the accuracy. And in English, you know, they apply those same rules, which is again the sort of things which I noticed when I took my Korean students over to the UK for a short period, because they're applying the same thing. And I do notice similar errors coming up: time, past tense forms, future tense forms. And funnily enough, the grammar that they're taught in schools is the future form is will or going to. But actually, no, will and going to is not always going to be the right thing, because it's going to be the present continuous form for future more often than not. You know, I'm meeting a friend tomorrow, for example. So anyway, in terms of my feedback for students, what I would tend to do is I like pen and paper. If it's face to face, I would write down some ideas of good examples of language, because I don't necessarily want to give them negative feedback all the time, like you mentioned, Claudia. So examples of really good phrases or vocabulary and that sort of thing, but then also make a note of anything that they have mentioned which could be improved. I don't say things that were incorrect, but things that could be improved. I don't like that sort of negative language. And that's when it's due to conversation. If it's a writing class that I'm teaching, I would get the student to read out what they've read and see if they can self-correct their writing. Because more often than not, you can hear the errors in your writing. And then finally, the good thing with our smartphone is you can download Google Gemini, I think it is, or ChatGPT, and it could be there as the observer, transcribing what is being discussed, and then that can give you a range of different phrases, sentences that the student made, which was good or which could be improved upon. And what I like to do is a sort like either one-to-one or group classes, is give them a sort of a grammar auction where they decide which which forms are good, where they could improve on, what's the error, and how would they correct it or improve it. And that's how I go about it. I push the student to try and correct themselves rather than me as a teacher going, this is how you need to do it, because they've had that for 15 years in the school system.
Actually, on Zoom now has a feature which is the AI feature. If you turn that on, you can, as you're talking, especially if you're doing one-on-ones, as you're talking to the student, you can ask for it to catch you up. So to summarize the talk, you can ask for it to do the same thing, to give you sentences that they've said that were misspoken, and then you can put it back in the chat at the end as like a review and be like, right, these are the 3 sentences you said earlier. How can we make them better? How can we, what can we do to tweak them and fix them? And you can specifically ask the AI to give you, like, I don't know, for example, my student is struggling with articles. So give me sentences linked to articles where she kind of got it wrong. And so that can be like an immediate feedback where you don't have to wait till the next class. You can be doing it as you are talking. I find that tool to be really helpful. And the same thing, Martin, I do the same thing as well. I do like a grammar mugshot when at the start of the next lesson.
A grammar mugshot, did you say?
Yeah.
Like in the police station?
Yeah, but these are like what you did last week. And it's like from the student's own mouth. And so these are your sentences. What can we do to just improve them? And I don't always address all of the errors, but like the ones that we've mainly been working on, those are the ones we want to fix. And again, same techniques, reading them out loud. And what I usually find is watch the student's face as they read them out loud, because you can see, even if they don't correct it properly, there are places where they're like, oh, something should be here. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I can feel it. I love that. I love when they start to feel the errors or the correct parts, because then they're kind of building that intuition, which is sometimes lacking.
Of course.
So that's usually fun. So yeah, I think the use of AI can really help at least pinpoint like really where the student is mostly struggling. And if you keep a record, like Gemini is quite generous when it comes to like keeping the same chat going for quite a while. You can do it for 2 or 3 sessions and it will give you a more accurate picture of like the student's struggle.
And I suppose the AI system will be generating or learning on the fly during the conversation. And I think there's so much potential these days where students have AI on their smartphones where they can just place it in the corner of the room whilst they're having a physical lesson, and they're just chatting away to you as the teacher. And then it's like, right, let's review what was suggested, and then let's have a look at the phrases, the grammar, and that sort of and there's so much more potential these days. And I think there's a lot of apprehension and fear about AI taking our jobs, but actually, no, there's a lot of potential. I think there's going to be a lot of potential for teachers and educators.
You just need to learn how to use it properly.
Yes. That's my action research for this coming semester. I want to interview students and find out how they use AI. That's what I want to try and research this coming semester. But anyway.
Awesome.
One thing I do with my students to check their pronunciation is if I want them to look something up, like Google it. If they can say it right, then it'll come out in English. If they speak it with more of a Koreanized accent, it'll come out in Korean, or something else totally different will come out. So I have them practice it until it comes out in English, and they're like so happy that I finally got it. I said it the right way.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. No, carry on.
No, it's like sometimes the teachers are too forgiving, or I think their style. But with this, it's really it's the ultimate test.
True. That's true, because we can. I suppose our ears can start to tune in to how the students are speaking, and we, after a while, you kind of go, you don't notice, I suppose, the mistakes or the pronunciation. That's my fear, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, there is Ramesh here who's tuned in, and he mentioned he prefers to let his students read out their writing instead of correcting it there. So some echoes from viewers of the show. And some students hesitate to read aloud because of fear of making mistakes. But then I suppose this goes back to trying to create an environment which allows and fosters mistakes, and you're not going to be penalized. No one's evaluated based on your mistakes, and who are we to judge you on those, because they've been as I mentioned before, they've been taught what to do and how to do it by their teachers for 15 years, but now we're not going to be there judging them. We're just going to try and help them find their feet, I suppose, communicatively.
An advantage I think that we have in this kind of situation, if you've got a student who's afraid of mistakes, is we can show them our weaknesses when it comes to Korean. So whenever my students are like, I'm so terrible at English, I'm like, you are miles ahead of me when it comes to Korean. If I show you my capabilities, you will feel so good about yourself. So I think if you can show some vulnerability to your student, I think it encourages them to show them, hey, okay, it's not that bad. Yeah, it's not that bad. And I always tell my students, I understand you. I understood what you said. It's just that we just need to tweak it a little bit. And I think reassuring them that their mistakes don't hinder communication, if it doesn't hinder communication, I think that's really important. Making that constantly reminding your student, I understood you. I got what you were saying. Your meaning is 100% clear. It's just that we need to just make it a lot more smoother, a lot more easier. And I think for some students, you're going to have to repeat that 100 times before it really starts to settle in. Because like you said, Martin, they've been soaked into this way of life, right? Where it's all about, I need to be accurate. If I'm not accurate, I'm a failure. And we've got to kind of rewrite that and build a different culture of mistakes, a culture of trying. I think that's what's really, really important.
I have the same conversation with my wife, and she was brought up here in Korea, but she's so glad not to be part of that society where you're always judged and evaluated and assessed, and if you don't have the latest Chanel bag or something like that, you're a failure. You're not keeping up with the Joneses and that sort of thing, or you make a mistake, or she mentioned about one of the contestants on Culinary Art Wars. Is that the name of it in English?
Cooking show,
the cooking show, where the chap misappropriated or misfiled his tax return and didn't pay the full amount of tax. And it's like, well, he's going to be fined. He's going to have to correct it and pay a fine. But but then there was so many people who were judging him based on his failure and this sort of cancel culture. And it's like, well, no one can take a breath and say, well, he made a mistake. Everyone's human. Everybody's made a mistake. And, he's going to learn from it. So the next time he's going to submit his tax return, he's going to make double sure that he's not going to make a mistake again. But then it's just so cruel sometimes. And it's like, you got to try and break that mold down and go, no, we're not like that. No one's judging you.
So just like you said at the beginning, Martin, in the in our one-on-ones, we wear so many hats, and I think one of the biggest ones, I think the takeaway for me today is create an environment that is comfortable, whether it's online or face to face. Your environment, the feeling or the bunwigi of your class has to be really relaxed and inviting, and with some time your student will open up because they'll feel like, oh, this is really chilled. And like you mentioned as well, you might become a psychologist. The amount of times I've been approached by random Korean people, not even students, random Korean people to discuss big life issues. Like I remember I was once on the ITX, which is like a fast train.
Oh yeah,
from Chuncheon to Seoul. This lady came up to me, oh, you from England, the usual, where are you from and what are you doing? And then she said, oh my gosh, my husband is coming back. And I was like, okay. And she's like, yeah, after 20 years, he's been in the army, he's now going to retire, and he's coming back to live with me, and I'm going to have to like cook for him every day, and oh, the expectation he's going to have, it's too much. And at that time, I wasn't even married. I was just like, lady, I have no idea. I'm just on the train going to Seoul. What do you want me to say? I was like, oh, I'm sure it'll be fine. She's like, no, I'm dreading it. What do I do? And I'm like, I don't know. And it's, there's been so many situations where I've been asked for advice on how to deal with teenagers because, the parent is like, I don't know my teenager's changed and stuff like that. So sometimes your English lesson turns into a counseling session.
Yes.
Or just, anything can happen when you're teaching English.
Well, I guess it's because we're not Korean.
Yeah,
they're like it's easier for them to open up on like certain issues, sensitive issues.
Yeah, I do recall. Actually, in the UK, a Japanese student who was she was rather cautious and not too sure about herself. She lacked any confidence whatsoever in this English class, and she was a good student, intermediate or upper intermediate, and she was just as fragile as anything. And she would come to class one day and then she would not be there for a day or two, and then she'll come back, and then she wouldn't necessarily want to be put on the spot. And I just spent so much time. Again, I'm just as relaxed. I'm not judging anyone. I'm not correcting too much or demonstrating the flaws of how people speak in my classes. It's like, you've all done amazing, just getting them to work well together. And I just spent time with her, and then she actually wrote me a personal card, and she said, thank you ever so much. And she was only in my class for two weeks when I took that class over. She'd been there for 6 months, and she said, thanks ever so much for your lessons. I felt so much more comfortable after the 2 weeks with you. And then she gave me a spoon, a wooden spoon that she found when she was in a market, and it was like best teacher or something. And I was like, wow, yeah, that's the first present I've ever got from a student.
Wow, after 2 weeks.
Yeah. Wow. That's quite moving. I once got given a straw hat by a random Ajuma. I was like, all right. But a meaningful spoon, I'll take that any day.
Well, and I still use it for my cooking.
Wow.
See, any students out there, give us spoons. Give us spoons.
Yeah. Well, any final takeaways or mentions or anything, Kristine?
Well, yeah, I just think that being a language learner myself, it helps all of us, I guess. It puts us in that position to understand our students better and to be able to be, just more forgiving and just creating that atmosphere is the most important thing, to be able to nurture and to see them grow and get that wooden spoon. Maybe who knows where that Japanese student is? She's probably really good, but it just took, that little push to get her over the intimidation wall or the fear of making a mistake wall, which a lot of them are still trying to, get over. So, yeah. But just just see them for who they are and find the value in what they value. I think that will really help make the class more fun, especially a very slow or shy student. It helps the time.
Oh, I would like to add food, whether online or face-to-face. Eating is a sure way to open up anybody because they'll be relaxed. you know. And sometimes I've done where, you know, bring your favorite childhood snack. And so they've got to go down memory lane and then, you know, bring it in and show you, or even try something from my country. Let's try a new flavor. That always gets everyone to relax. A drink, a cup of tea or whatever, and a little snack whilst you're talking. It just makes it feel more like you're talking to a friend rather than a lesson before you even open up the book. I think that's also a good way to start.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
eat and learn.
Eat and learn. Actually, yesterday, or was it 2 days ago, I saw an ice cream shaped in steak. It was a steak shaped ice cream. I took a photo of it. It was really bizarre. I've never seen anything like it. The color, everything. I wonder if I took a photo of it. It's amazing. I never bought it. I was so surprised.
So stunned.
I'm not sure if you can see that.
Oh, it's a raw steak.
Whoa.
Wow.
It's like a steak-shaped ice cream, strawberry flavor. And I thought, if I see that again, I'm going to buy that.
See, yeah, that would be a perfect start to the class, right? Korea has so many unusual combinations. I once saw a banana pizza. That would be a great way to start any class. Let's try some banana pizza.
A banana pizza. Oh, they used to do weird stuff here in Korea with pizzas, didn't they?
Yeah, me and Kristine, we once shared. Remember, Kristine, the hot cream cheese steak pizza?
Cream cheese. Well, I had a blueberry pizza before. I don't remember.
We had this kind of like, we went away to Sokcho. Was it Sokcho someplace? And then they had like this weird hot cream cheese with steak and guguma, like sweet potato shrimp. Oh
my god.
Yeah. Any lesson with that, you're gonna have something to talk about.
Yeah. That's right.
When we had students who would first come to the Philippines, we'd give them this initiation. We have this food in the Philippines called balut. It's like incubated black egg. It's like it's almost fully developed, right? They have something in Korea like that as well. And before we welcome them to our school that way, like, hey, welcome to the Philippines, to get you fully, you know, to let you have the ultimate Philippine experience, you have to eat balut. So we explained why they only sold them at night and why people sometimes ate them in the dark. And we'd teach them how to crack it, put some salt, give it a little swirl before you have some chicken soup. And if they're really grossed out, I'm like, hey, it's the same as chicken soup. Like, there's a little...
It doesn't look the same. It doesn't look
But like, once they overcome that, they're like, oh, you're part of us now. You can, you know, have adventures together.
Wait, what would be the Korean equivalent? Like the silkworm? What would be the Korean equivalent?
Maybe silkworm.
Silkworm, yeah.
Bondegi.
There you go, people. If you're in Korea, you're teaching, first lesson, let's eat bondegi.
Well, we're going to call it an evening here. And thank you ever so much, Kristine, for joining today's show.
Thank you.
And thank you to everybody who has joined us. Marie, she said, thank you for all your helpful advice. I taught ESL a few years ago, and she's planning, I assume she is planning to return back to the profession. That's great. Replays, experienced that, I suppose, what you mentioned earlier. And again, they're from the Philippines. They have only one student, and most of the time she doesn't like to have a lesson. She just wants to have a conversation. So yeah, it seems quite remarkable. But yeah, thank you ever so much, Kristine, for joining today's show.
For having me.
Thank you.
Claudia.
Yeah. Well, thank you again to everybody who joined today's show. We'll see you again in 2 weeks' time. I believe it's going to be Sonal.
Yeah.
the Korean New Year.
Oh,
But I think
yeah.
it's towards the end of it, so
Yeah.
we should be okay. But yeah, thank you ever so much. I'll see everybody who joined our show in 2 weeks' time. So thank you.
Nice. See you in
All
2
Have a
weeks.
good night, everybody.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Outstanding, a world-class vision, a world-class this.
I'm a real leadership geek, honestly. I've spent my whole career reading books and chatting to people.
I just find the whole thing and the announcement, the way it's been announced, bizarre.
If you could move away from a model where teachers are so intensely focused